I hooked up another dashboard. Okay. What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? We are live. Man. Hope y'all having a great day. I'm having a great day. And guess what, chat? I'm going to share this one thing with the stream. How do I get that on there? Hold up, chat. What am I doing? What I'm doing? Yeah, I got a lot going on. Not a lot, but I'm adding some social media accounts to my stream. So let's see. Right there. And guess what, chat? We got the 50 subs on the Conservative OG channel. So I thank everybody that went over there and subscribed to the Conservative OG. All I'm waiting on now is for YouTube to strike up the live so I can go live from Conservative OG. Hold on, chat. All I'm waiting on now, chat, is for YouTube to let me hit that live button on. Boy, I broke my cup. Hold on, chat. All I'm waiting on now is for YouTube to let me go live from the Conservative OG channel. So we did get the 50 subs. Appreciate everybody that subscribed to that channel. So all we waiting on now is for YouTube to let me go live on that channel. And once YouTube lets me go live over there, we doing a Cash App giveaway. That's what we're gonna do over there. Let's see. Let me try to see. I'm trying to check us. I'm live. Okay, I got one viewer. What's up? If you watching me from Twitch, hello, how you doing? Appreciate you for joining me. This is my first live stream on Twitch. So we live on Twitch, we live on Kick, and of course we live on YouTube. So I appreciate y'all for joining me, man. This has been a pretty decent day. We did hit the 50 subs on the Conservative OG channel. And I appreciate everybody that subscribed to that channel over there. If you have not subscribed to the Conservative OG channel, please go over there and subscribe. Right now, I'm just waiting on YouTube to let me go live over there. Let me show you. So you will know what's going on, because once we're able to go live over there, I'm going to do a Cash App giveaway on the Conservative OG channel. So let me go. What's this? Oh, I don't want doggone two more. So let me go over here and show you that I'm still not able to go live on the Conservative OG channel. But once, see if you can see this, what it's showing right now. So once YouTube updated and I'm able to hit that button and go live, once we go live over there, I'm doing a Cash App giveaway, I'm doing a Zelle giveaway, and a PayPal giveaway for hitting the 50 subs. So you can see I'm just waiting, to whenever YouTube updated that shows that we got the 50 subscribers over there. So once we get the 50 subscribers and YouTube, well, we got the 50. All we waiting on now is for YouTube to take that off. Once YouTube takes that off, we'll be able to go live over there. So that's all I'm waiting on. So how y'all doing on Sunday? How y'all doing today, chat? How y'all doing today? Appreciate y'all for joining me. I hope y'all seen that video I put up. Basically an example on how to hook up your social media to Restream. You know, I did, it's pretty easy, but I gave a quick little tutorial on how to hook up your social media accounts to Restream. I got YouTube hooked up. I got Kick. I got Twitch. I'm going to hook up my Twitter account. I'm going to open up a Rumble account, an Instagram account. I'm putting all my social media, so I can go. So when I'm live on YouTube, I'm not just live on YouTube. I'm live everywhere. So we got 3 of them up right now. If you joining me from Kick, I appreciate you. If you joining me from Twitch, I appreciate you. Whatever platform you own, I thank you for. If you join me from YouTube, I appreciate you for coming through rocking with me. So if you're on Twitch, do me a favor and hit the like. Follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Kick. I know Twitch is a lot different than YouTube. I think on Twitch, you got to pay to be a subscriber. But whatever you got to do that's free, follow, like, whatever it is on Twitch or Kick, make sure you do that. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the Conservative OG channel and to the Freedom of Speech channel. You don't want to miss out. So yeah, chat, basically, I'm just chilling, hanging out, man, hooking up these social media accounts, just learning, and as I learn, I talk a lot. As I learn, I'm going to make tutorial videos. So I just hooked up Kick. It's real simple. Once you get your streaming service, I recommend Restream. I recommend Restream. I like Restream better than StreamYard. I like it a lot better, and it's cheaper than StreamYard. So if you are a content creator, if you're a YouTuber, you want to start streaming, because that's the name of the game right now. Streaming on multiple platforms. So I am no longer a YouTuber. I am a streamer. I am a content creator. That's what I am. I'm streaming from multiple platforms now. I'm going to hook up my Twitter. And once I get off live, I'm going to open up a Rumble account. So yeah, we ready to rock and roll, man. We're going to push it all out. We're going to push it out. And that's what we need to be doing as content creators, trying to reach as many people as possible. Trying to connect with as many people as possible. So I thank y'all for y'all could be doing anything else, but y'all over here rocking with me. And guess what? I appreciate it. But tomorrow, chat, is back to business as usual. It's back to training for the marathon. How long we got left for the marathon? Let me look right now. We got 3 weeks before Memorial Day. So we got 3 weeks. Hopefully, if God say the same, I will have a GoPro, because that's the next step, is to get a GoPro. So I can film a lot of stuff with my GoPro. Better quality. I want to get a GoPro, and I want to get the adapter, put it on my head with the GoPro sitting right here, and I can walk around and do content. I can run, which is the main reason why I want to do it. I want to be able to run, instead of just showing the walk down. I want to be able to show the whole thing. That's my plan. So my plan is to get a GoPro. And once I get the GoPro, it's on and popping. I'm really stream. I'm probably get more than one GoPro because I want to start doing interviews, in-house interviews. So I'm gonna start having content creators come to the office, doing sit-down interviews. Some of the best content creators, some of the best when it comes to business, some of the best when it comes to fitness, some of the best when it comes to investments. You know, I know a lot of high quality people that are high level investors. You know, I want to be able to bring them in. You know, bring them in to the content room. The office, this office is a content room. So all I got to do is get my cameras and then get my cameras and then be ready to rock and roll. I got some interviews coming out, in-house interviews. Also, I want to start bringing some of y'all up. I got this streaming service and I ain't brought nobody up yet. So I want to drop the link and bring people up. And then the office, I turned it into a content room. You know, so on the other side of this camera is my content area. So we're going to be bringing people, in, you know, quality people, not bringing people into the content room. It's going to be about something that's going to bring information to the people that watch the show, to the people that watch the channel. You know, I know people that do real estate on a high level. I know people that do a lot of different investments on a high level. I know people that own a lot of different businesses on a high level. You know, and we're going to bring them in and we're going to interview them. You know, give us some of them bells and whistles. You know, that's what we got planned. That's what we got planned over here, chat. Yeah. So I'm just hanging out, you know, getting everything together, ready to rock and roll. Sunday night live stream, you know. So basically I just came on just to test out Twitch. So this is not going to be a long stream. I got to get used to saying stream instead of live because I'm on multiple platforms. So I'm going to add Rumble next, then Twitter. You know, Instagram, the thing, I like Instagram, but when it comes to adding to the streaming service, I got to go through multiple levels of going live. You know, it ain't like going live on YouTube, going live from Kick, going live to Twitch. All I got to do is just sign in my accounts. And then now I'm in the back office of the streaming service. And all I got to do is hit live. Well, with Instagram, I got to keep going over there, getting the streaming link, and then installing the streaming link, and then go back to Instagram, and then go live on Instagram, and then come back over here and then go live. It's like it's extra steps to streaming on Instagram, if that makes sense. So I might not do Instagram every single day. You know, I might do Instagram like twice a week, 3 times a week, something like that. Or maybe it's another thing that I need to learn so I can install Instagram and I don't have to worry about keep going over to grabbing the streaming key, installing the streaming key, and then going back to Instagram, pressing live, and then coming back over here and pressing live. Like, it's like, it ain't a lot. It's just about an extra 3 steps, you know? So, but it's all good though. I like Twitch. I like Kick, you know? So I think on Twitch, I think you got to get 75 followers to get monetized. On Kick, you got to get 50. Instagram, I'm already I'm monetized on Instagram and YouTube. So I appreciate y'all, man. If it wasn't for y'all, I wouldn't be monetized on none of these channels. I'ma just keep it real. That's why when it comes to my chat, and when it comes to our chat and the people that rock with us, you know, I value y'all a whole lot. I really do, because if it wasn't for y'all, each and every person, y'all are not numbers over here. We are people, you know, so I appreciate y'all, man, because without y'all, I wouldn't be monetized on none of these platforms, straight up. So now we're going to try to get monetized on Twitch and Kick. You know, we're just going to keep it going. So right now we monetized on Instagram and YouTube. You know, so if y'all out there, man, y'all on these platforms, you know, start making videos. You know, if that's what, you know, start making videos, because these platforms are paying, you know, residual. You know, it's kind of like having your own TV show, basically. You get paid off ads, you know, so it's real good to make residual income, making videos and streams that's still making money, you know, kind of like a movie. Movie is residual income. That's what this is residual income. You still can make money off videos you've done years ago. And that's just how it goes. So yeah, I wonder how many people we got on Kick. Let me see. What's up, Kick? What's up, Twitch? How y'all doing? Appreciate y'all for joining me. You know, make sure you like whatever platform you own. Make sure you like it, and make sure you follow. You know, make sure you follow. Drop a comment. Let me know where you from. You know, yeah, I need that one person that's watching on Twitch. Drop a comment. I already know all the comments gonna come right here to this back office on Restream, but I need to know if on Twitch if you make a comment on Twitch, will it also show right here? That's what I need to know. Let me see. Let me see. I'm trying to look on Twitch right now to see if I can. How can I see? How can I see? How can I see the comments? That's what I'm trying to see over here on Twitch. How can I see the comments on Twitch? I'm doing this in real time, chat, because I really don't know how to see. I really don't know. Try to find out now. My channel. I'm trying to see now. How can I see my comments on Twitch? I definitely don't know how to get there. Vertical video. Open. We got 2 viewers on Twitch. What's up, y'all? What's up? Wherever you watching me some. Hello, y'all. How y'all doing? Hope y'all having a great Sunday. Thank y'all for watching me. Thank y'all for coming through. I'm just hanging out. You know, if you have not subscribed to the Conservative OG channel, make sure you go over there and subscribe to that channel right now. We would really appreciate it. And everybody that have subscribed to the Conservative OG channel, I thank you. I thank you. I'm trying to see how can I Manage your stream. Let's see. Q, followers. I'm so used to YouTube, I don't know how to see the comments. We got 2 people on Twitch. Please do me a favor. Drop a comment. Drop a comment so I can see. You know, please help me out. We got 2 people watching Twitch. Just make a comment. That's all I need you to do for me. This is my first live on Twitch. And I need to see a comment so I can figure out where the comments at on Twitch. And will the comments show up on Restream right here? If the comment will show on Restream, then I can like not worry about Twitch on the phone, because I can see how many people are on here by looking at my back office in Restream. So I got 2 people watching on Twitch. Do me a favor and drop a comment, please. Help me out so I can see. I need to see where the comments are. Let me see. Let me go there. I don't know. Mobile. I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to figure it out though. It's all good. Edit stream info. Yeah, I can't. I don't know. I'll figure it out though, chat. I'll figure it out sooner or later. Hold on, I'm gonna try something right now. Hold on, chat. I'm trying to see. Oh, since I'm live. Social media. Add up to 6. On your channel profile, viewers will also be able to search you by. So I can add my other social medias to Twitch. Okay. I know I was trying to go live from Twitch and it wouldn't let me. Then bear with me, chat. Watch streams, clip, let me see. Bear with me, chat. I'm trying to see. I'm trying to figure out videos, clips, about, home. I don't know. I just got to figure it out. Hey, what's up to Don? How you doing? Appreciate you for joining. Yeah, we're just hanging out on this Sunday. Nice, beautiful day. Yeah, I figure I get some work done because I've been kind of procrastinating on hooking up these streaming services, but it's actually easier than what I thought. So I got it now. All I got to do now is start bringing people up. That's all I got to do now. I think all I got to do, if I want to do that, press that, copy the link, and then put the link inside of the chat. So we're going to start bringing people up. That was the last goal of 2026, is to start bringing people up. And then people come up No, not debating, not arguing, just grown-up conversation about different things, that we talk about on the channel. So screen capacity, something was wrong. Let me go over here. Let me check something out, chat. Did I download? Castify. I'm gonna download it. Hold up. Castify. Enter. No. Castify. Trying to see if this has an app. No. What's up, Chad? How y'all doing? We still got 2 viewers over there on Twitch. Hello, Twitch. How you doing? If you are a streamer, a new streamer, or you're a YouTuber, you got to check out my new video. You got to check it out. Let's see. I need to take that off. YouTube. I need to take this off. Take this. Go here. See what's going on today, chat.
Victim to war and violence.
From conflict zones to authoritarian states, telling the truth is becoming more dangerous than ever. The Committee to Protect Journalists estimates 130 journalists and media workers were killed last year, many in war and unrest. In most cases, no one has been held accountable for their deaths. The CBJ says Israel was responsible for more than 60% of those killings, with Gaza recording the highest toll in a single conflict. More than 330 journalists are in jail worldwide, often on vague charges related to national security or publishing fake news. About 85 journalists are missing or have been forcibly disappeared, with little or no confirmed information on their fates. Press freedom is under growing pressure globally, driven by censorship, arrest, surveillance, and violence. The UN says press freedom has experienced its steepest decline since 2012.
We call upon the international community to uphold its legal and moral responsibilities to provide protection to Palestinian journalists and hold Israeli occupation leaders accountable.
World Press Freedom Day recognizes the vital role of journalists, and the rising risks they face across the world. And journalists in conflict zones like Gaza say accountability is the only way to reverse the trend. Malik Traina, Al Jazeera.
2 U.S. service members have gone missing in southwestern Morocco. They were participating in the military Operation African Lion near the Cap Adrar training area. Search and rescue efforts are ongoing, and that includes ground, air and maritime operations. Flooding triggered by heavy rainfall in northwestern Syria has caused multiple dam collapses across the south of Aleppo province. After years of civil unrest, dams and irrigation systems have been neglected. Farmers are desperately trying to protect their homes and livelihoods as they wait for support. Lou Brown reports.
After weeks of heavy rainfall, vast stretches of countryside in southern Aleppo are now underwater. The Al Siha Dam, an earthen embankment on the Quake River, has collapsed several times since March. The result? Floodwaters that have devastated everything in their path. More than 5.5 square kilometres of farmland have been affected, leaving homes submerged.
We have suffered material losses and can no longer afford to pay any further. The situation is very tragic. Regarding these embankments here that you see, the water level is approximately 5 meters. If this embankment breaks at this time, we are afraid of it.
With limited resources, farmers are working to save what they can. That includes filling sandbanks, laying nylon sheets, and building makeshift barriers to hold off the rising water.
You can see it for yourself. We have removed the water and we are trying as much as we can with our limited resources as farmers to pump out the water. And the water is increasing, not decreasing.
Local authorities have asked the government and aid groups for help.
We formed local committees made up of affected farmers, and the Ministry of Agriculture sent teams to assess the damage caused by the flooding of agricultural lands. We also contacted international partner organisations to provide compensation to farmers.
The flooding risks wiping out a good harvest season and deepening an already fragile ability to recover, given the scarce resources. And while national officials say they're mobilising emergency teams, many farmers fear that, when the water recedes, financial support will also dry up. Lou Brown, Al Jazeera.
Nigeria's northern film industry is crossing cultural and religious boundaries, bringing Hausa language cinema to global streaming platforms. But as filmmakers pursue wider audiences, they're also navigating tight censorship rules, limited funding and complex discussions about identity. Ahmed Idris reports from Kano.
Action! This is Kannywood, the heart of northern Nigeria's film industry. Less famous than Nollywood, but far from small. Here, a crew films a story about banditry, a contemporary story that resonates well with the more than 120 million speakers of the Hausa language. But the industry struggles with huge challenges.
We were unable to make inroads into Netflix, Amazon Prime and other streaming platforms because of poor equipment and failing to meet other criteria.
On average, Kannywood releases 200 movies a month, with its audience stretching from Nigeria across West and Central Africa and the diaspora. But exporting culture comes at a cost.
So the censorship board was very, very strict then, because when you don't bring it to them, those marketers will not buy. And if they buy any movie that is not censored, they can go and deal with them.
Now, a new generation is pushing boundaries, adding subtitles, experimenting with stronger storylines, and turning to regional streaming platforms.
A few years ago, piracy almost brought Kannywood to its knees. A lack of investment in equipment and manpower means the industry here is unable to compete with its southern cousin, Nollywood. But as streaming services reshape African cinema, Kannywood is beginning to reap the benefits.
Industry players say while investment is poor, ideas abound.
We have very good stories, and I'm so happy that people down south, the producers down south, we have international bodies that are coming to the north to tell our stories. It's a welcome development, but how I wish we will have somebody that will sponsor those stories. because we've done so many projects, it's actually a Hausa-oriented story.
For Kennywood, this isn't just about films. It's about a cultural test, about whether conservative societies can tell their stories globally without losing who they are. Ahmed Idris, Al Jazeera, Kano, Nigeria.
Now, Kazakhstan is pressing ahead with plans to construct its first nuclear reactor. But it's also haunted by the enduring effects of Soviet-era atomic experiments. Those include polluted land, radioactive lakes, and generations affected by cancers and birth defects. Jonah Hull reports from Kazakhstan.
The town of Kurchatov on the Kazakh steppe was once central to the Soviet Union.
We start off with the Democratic leader of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries. Leader Jeffries, thank you for coming on and starting this special session of Politics Nation. Let's start with context tonight. With this week's Supreme Court ruling, what changed for black and minority voters in states with histories of voter discrimination, like, of course, Louisiana?
Well, great to be with you, Rev. It was a very unfortunate decision, to say the least, in terms of this Supreme Court conservative right-wing majority detonating the Voting Rights Act, which is going to make it more difficult, particularly in states in the Deep South, for African-American communities to elect the candidate of their choice. The notion that this Supreme Court majority concluded that we don't have to worry about racial discrimination any longer, and that partisan gerrymandering is a more important value than making sure that we actually protect communities from racial gerrymandering is extreme. And so we're going to work hard to do what we have to do. One, to make sure we take back control of the House along with the Senate, and then to aggressively move toward dismantling the right-wing attack on our democracy, beginning with passing the John Robert Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act.
Now, several House seats held by Democrats were already in danger due to recent gerrymanders at Trump's demand. Congress members Don Davis in North Carolina and Vicente Gonzalez in Texas have been listed among the most vulnerable because of new, more Republican-tilted maps. And just since the court's decision this week, Louisiana has suspended its House primaries to give Republicans the time to redraw a new map. In Florida, Republicans just passed a new map that creates up to 4 more GOP seats. And the governors of both Tennessee and Alabama have called special legislative sessions next week to fast-track redistricting. Leader Jeffries, what's being done to ensure that black and Latino representation, specifically in the former Confederacy, doesn't just disappear because of this ruling?
Well, first of all, important to note that every single one of the seats that Republicans have targeted to date before the Calais decision have been seats held by black or Latino representatives in Congress. The 5 seats in Texas that were targeted were held by 3 Latinos, Vicente Gonzalez, Henry Cuellar, and Greg Casar, and 2 African Americans, Mark Vesey and Al Green. Then, of course, they've targeted 1 seat in Missouri, the seat currently held by Reverend Congressman Emmanuel Cleaver. We're going to make sure he's reelected. They've also targeted in North Carolina, as you indicated, the seat held by Don Davis, another African American. We're going to make sure that he is reelected as well. And then in Florida, a handful of the seats that they're targeting are currently represented by an African American in South Florida and a Latino in Central Florida. And so they're not even trying to hide the fact that in addition to trying to rig the midterm elections, they want to decimate black and Latino representation in Congress. We're going to battle them politically, and we're also going to make sure, as we've done in places like California and Utah and most recently in Virginia, that we push back aggressively so that Republicans can't create a numerical advantage for themselves in order to artificially hold on to power in the aftermath of the midterm elections.
Now, for months, you pressed blue states to respond to Republicans' redistricting push. California, of course, responded to the opening shot from Texas last year. Virginia responded last month. And this week, you said Democrats will now be prepared to respond in states even like New York, where Governor Kathy Hochul says she'll now push ahead with redistricting. You added Illinois, Maryland, and Colorado will be in play as well. November is very close, Leader Jeffries. Are you confident what's happening can be counted in time for your caucus to retake the House?
Well, we're going to take back control of the House and understand, Rev, as you know, we're only 3 seats short. That's a historically close margin. When we took the House back in 2018, we were 24 seats short. And of course, in that cycle, we were able to flip a total of 40 seats. This time around, we only have to net 3, which is why Republicans are panicking right now, because they failed the American people on the economy, on health care, on this reckless and costly war of choice.
Yeah, them Democrats, Chad, if things keep going the way it's going right now, they're going to take over the House and the Senate. Yeah, it's getting close. They closing in. The more this war and all these gas prices go up, it's not looking too good for the Republicans as of right now. Who knows? Maybe they could turn around. But the Democrats are closing in on the House and the Senate.
And Democrats have been making clear to the American people, we are the party that's going to focus on driving down the high cost of living, fixing our broken healthcare system, and cleaning up corruption wherever it's found, in the Congress, in the Supreme Court, and certainly as it relates to this administration. Now, a large part of the battle that needs to be fought is going to be post-2026, because this Supreme Court decision, as wrong-headed and awful as it is, came late in the cycle. And so the Republicans are limited in the damage that they can do effective 2026. However, we've got to make sure that we're prepared to push back aggressively as we approach 2028, which is why, as you've indicated, we're ready to go in New York, in New Jersey, perhaps, in Colorado, certainly in places like Illinois and Maryland, and in Washington State. Those are going to be the opportunities that we will have to once again ensure that we stop the MAGA power grab and push back against their efforts to rig the midterm elections this time around, which we've done, and push back against any efforts into the future, which we'll have to do in connection with 2028.
And I might add that they're underestimating that many of our black representatives are in districts where many whites have voted for them. We're not dealing with a constituency that whites have not supported the best candidate, black or white. We're talking about where they've tried to eliminate the possibility of black representation. But I must bring this up.
Absolutely.
Last night.
Very. Go ahead, Ref. Sorry.
All right. Last night, I have to bring this up. Last night, the president posted a year-old image of you holding a baseball bat, writing on his Truth Social platform, quote, "Low IQ Democrat Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is nothing but a thug, and he is a danger to our country," end of quote. Now that follows these comments from...
I ain't see that, Chad. When they say he did that yesterday, just because the man holding the baseball bat, come on now.
Go ahead, Ref. Sorry.
All right. Last night, I have to bring this up. Last night, the president posted a year-old image of you holding a baseball bat, writing on his Truth Social platform, quote, "Low IQ Democrat Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is nothing but a thug, and he is a danger to our country," end of quote. Now that follows these comments from Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis on Thursday, where he uses what seems like a very specific cadence to mock you in the midst of this redistricting fight. Take a listen.
We gonna do maximum warfare against Republicans. Florida Republicans, you F around, you gonna find out all this stuff.
And, you know, what I said was, listen, and he's like, oh, if you do the redistricting, we're going to take out all your members. We're going to do all this stuff. And what I said was, go ahead, make my day.
Leader Jeffries, what message are these, in my opinion, openly racist attacks sending, coming from the very same GOP leaders attacking every aspect of black representation right now?
Well, their responses certainly speak for themselves in terms of the moral depravity of it all. And listen, they failed. Ron DeSantis is a failed governor, a failed presidential candidate. He's a disaster. The cost of living skyrocketing out of control in Florida. Nobody can get home owners insurance. And gasoline, because of Trump's war, is through the roof. And so, you know, these people have decided that they want to launch at how much.
Gas where I'm at right now is $4. It finally reached $4 yesterday.
Them attacks. Now, of course, Donald Trump probably doesn't even know what that means, but the reality of it is they cannot distract from the fact that they've just failed. And the American people, I'm confident, are going to make a decision not based on personal attacks against me or other members of Congress. They're going to make a decision based on who actually is ready to do the job to make their life better. And as far as I'm concerned, the voters will have the last laugh in November, and then we're going to get to work. And we certainly are going to hold these extremists accountable. And, you know, Ron DeSantis sounded like a fool. He's embarrassed.
What's up, the oldness? Jeffrey should be the next president.
In himself, Rev. I mean, that's not a Brooklyn accent. I don't know what kind of accent that was, but at the end of the day, we'll keep the pressure on them.
Why you think that, the oldness? Why do you think Jeffrey should be the next president?
They're just big mad because they never thought we would forcefully respond to their efforts to rig the midterm elections by gerrymandering maps all across the country. We responded forcefully, immediately, strongly, and as a result, they now found themselves down, not up, as it relates to a redistricting battle that they once thought was going to net them 10, 12, or 15 seats. We've completely wiped that off the map.
All right, many thanks for kicking us off in this special House of Nation tonight to House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Thank you again. Let's go now to Louisiana.
All right, chat, appreciate y'all for joining me at this time. I need y'all to do me a favor. Go over there to the Conservative OG channel. Type in The Conservative OG on YouTube and go hit that subscribe button. That is my second YouTube channel. That's the other YouTube channel. We got 50 subscribers over there so far. Thank everybody for subscribing to that channel. I'm just waiting on YouTube to activate that live button over there so we can go live and give away some cash to the people. So go over there to the Conservative OG. Once you see that picture right there, hit that subscribe button. We already at the 50. The goal was to get to 50 subscribers. We there. All I'm waiting on now is for YouTube to release the activation button for to go live. Once YouTube lets me go live over there, I'm doing a Cash App giveaway on the Conservative OG channel. I'm doing a PayPal giveaway and Zelle. So right now, go over there to the OG, to the Conservative OG channel, hit that subscribe button, come back and say thumbs up and let me know that you done it. Thanks in advance, chat. Let's keep going. Yeah, chat. This what's going on in Louisiana right now is big, big news right now. That's been the talk the last couple of days. Next week, this Louisiana, the voters of Louisiana suing the governor over this redistricting is going to heat up come next week. Yeah, Diogenes, they're gonna have to do something because I don't think Kamala Harris Kamala Harris is not gonna. I don't think she's gonna cut the cake, but I think they're gonna try to go with Harris again. That's what I think, Diogenes. But my opinion of Jeffries is, yeah, he's educated, but they talk about race too much. Like racism still exists. You know, I don't think that's a good route to go. You know, I don't think that's a good route for them to go. We want to act like we're still in slavery days or something, because that's really all they talk about, him and Reverend Al Sharpton. Tripping. I'm just sitting here.
Will they come after
Hold
both
up,
of our
Chad.
seats and take
My
us
bad,
both?
Chad. I'm thinking it was switched over, but it wasn't.
Carter, we had.
Please forgive me, Chad. I'll see why people started leaving. I didn't even
the
switch
state
it.
at the center of this landmark Supreme Court ruling. Voters and civil
My
rights
bad,
groups
Chad.
have sued
I
the state
apologize.
over Governor Jeff Landry's suspension of his House primaries this week. A move intended to give Republican state lawmakers time to redraw Louisiana's congressional map. We're joined now by one of the state's two Democratic congressmen, Representative Troy Carter. Congressman Carter, we have, what have you been hearing from voters this week in response to the decision by your governor?
That's why y'all gotta help me out, Chad.
Ruling on the state's voting map.
First of all, thank you for having me, Rev. The voters are concerned. They feel like the democracy is being literally ripped away from them. They've watched what happened with Calvin Duncan, an African-American who was duly elected to be clerk of criminal district court. And they watched legislation be passed and signed to eliminate his office after his election. They're now watching a Supreme Court that has eviscerated the Section 2 of the Supreme Court by the Supreme Court, Section 2 of our Voting Rights Act. And now they're watching insult to injury that this governor has elected to suspend our elections, even though the elections have started. People who are overseas have already cast their votes. Senior citizens have already cast their votes. Candidates have already spent millions of dollars in their races. These are quintessential examples of irreparable harm that's being caused, and all under the auspices of an emergency. Well, this isn't a hurricane. This isn't a 9/11. This isn't a natural disaster in epic proportion. This is merely a partisan attempt to dilute the votes and the voting strength of African Americans. I'll remind you that it has been 150 years since John Maynard Willis was elected to the very seat that I hold. But he was never seated because there was a congressman that went to the floor of the House of Representatives and said, and I quote, "America is not ready for a Negro to serve in Congress." And summarily, they did not seat him. And here we are now.
That's the seat that you hold. And it took a lot of legislation. It took a lot of legislation and fights, including the 65 Voting Rights Act.
And but for the VRA, I and other members of Louisiana.
See, that's why.
And here we are now.
That's the seat. That's
why I came.
That went to to dilute examples of irreparable harm elections, even though the elections have started. People who are they're now watching a Supreme Court that has eviscerated the Section 2 of the Supreme Court by the Supreme Court, Section 2 of our Voting Rights Act. And now they're watching insult to injury that this governor has elected to suspend our elections, even though the elections have started. People who are overseas have already cast their votes. Senior citizens have already cast their votes. Candidates have already spent millions of dollars in their races. These are quintessential examples of irreparable harm that's being caused, and all under the auspices of an emergency. Well, this isn't a hurricane. This isn't a 9/11. This isn't a natural disaster in epic proportion. This is merely a partisan attempt to dilute the votes and the voting strength of African Americans. I'll remind you that it has been 150 years since John Maynard Willis was elected to the very seat that I hold. But he was never seated because there was a congressman that went to the floor of the House of Representatives and said, and I quote, "America is not ready for a Negro to serve in Congress." And summarily, they did not seat him. And here we are now.
That's the seat that you hold. And it took a lot of legislation. and took a lot of legislation and fights, including the 65 Voting Rights Act that they
And but
just
for the
took the gut out
VRA,
of.
I and other members in Louisiana couldn't serve in Congress because unlike other parts of the world, in the South, it just doesn't happen.
Now, several Louisiana voters, along with civil and voting rights groups, have sued the state over Governor Landry's order,
This
arguing
was
it's
a
beyond his
necessary change
authority under state
the
law
VRA.
and could make the primary
Racial
voting process more
favoritism
chaotic.
has no
Early voting
place
in your
in
state
American
House primaries
elections.
has already begun, as you said. How's this going to work?
Well, it's going to have massive confusion because now, assuming we've got several lawsuits that are pending and to suspend the suspension and allow the election to continue going, worst case scenario, that if that doesn't happen, if the courts don't side with us, then our elections will be pushed, in theory, I guess, to November. We will go back from what they've now created as a closed primary and go back to a jungle primary. And we have no clue if we will have one district or no district, if they're going to stand on the district that was considered unconstitutional, that my colleague and friend holds, Cleo Fields, or will they come after both of our seats and take us both out? Our position is very clear. African Americans comprise a third of the state. We have 6 members of Congress. We should have 2 members in our delegation. That's the position that we have. That's the position we'll continue to be. We're not going to let them throw us into a battle against each other. We're smarter than that. We're going to fight for 2 seats. We're going to fight for a democracy that looks like the people that live in it. This midterm redrawing of lines is nothing more than a power grab, and it's un-American.
Now, the Supreme Court's decision in the Cali.
That's racial. He's saying that because majority of that district is black, it should be a black person in that seat. Ain't that racist, chat? Somebody in the chat, let me know if am I right or am I wrong? He just said that because majority of that district is black, that it needs to be a black person in the seat. Okay, let me rewind that.
Comprise a third of the state. We have 6 members of Congress. We should have 2 members in our jungle primary, and we have no clue if we will have one district or no district, if they're going to stand on the district that was considered unconstitutional, that my colleague and friend holds, Cleo Fields, or will they come after both of our seats and take us both out? Our position is very clear. African Americans comprise a third of the state. We have 6 members of Congress. We should have 2 members in our delegation. That's the position that we have. That's the position we'll continue to be. We're not going to let them throw us into a battle against each other. We're smarter than that. We're going to fight for 2 seats. We're going to fight for a democracy that looks like the people that live in it. This midterm.
They want somebody black. That's not how it goes. You just don't put them in there just because they're black. He didn't say educated. He didn't say none of that. He said that because the most of that district is black, that the 2 seats, the people should be black. That's what he said. He didn't say they need to be black and educated. He didn't say a white person or a Mexican or whatever different type of race. Race shouldn't matter when it comes to voting. Race shouldn't matter when it comes to voting. Just like if somebody that was white and the situation was flipped and most of the district is white and they say, well, we don't need nobody black sitting in the seat. We need somebody white sitting in the seat. Same thing. That's racist. That's racism. The most qualified. It could be somebody that's black that's sitting in the seat that don't do nothing for the district. So they want somebody in those 2 seats just because majority of people are black. They want them to be black too. That's not how it works. Favoritism has no place in American elections. Just like the guy said. Let me rewind that again. He brought up some old 150-year-old stuff. See, that's why I can't do the I said it. That's why I can't do the Democrats. That's why I can't do them. That's why I can't do them.
Redrawing of lines is nothing more than a power grab, and it's un-American.
Now, the Supreme Court's decision in the Callias followed decades of legal battles over black voter representation in Louisiana. And our show heavily covered the recent fight to get 2 majority black districts in a state where about 1 in 3 residents are black. What's the long-term impact of this on black Louisiana, Congressman?
The long-term impact is that Louisiana potentially will not have African-American representatives in Congress and may not have Democrats representing the interest of the people of Louisiana. Going back to a Reconstruction type atmosphere where we will have no representation. And this notion that the Supreme Court will allow gerrymandering along partisan lines, but will disallow the ability for people who have been prejudiced and to demonstrate that there has been racial discrimination in maps, and this narrow definition that we have to prove. The burden of proof becomes ours. We have to prove that we've been discriminated against. That's like the jelly bean jar during when we couldn't vote during Jim Crow. How many jelly beans are in this jar? You cannot empirically prove that there's been discrimination because those who do are very crafty in how they do it.
All right, I'm going to have to hold it there. Thank you so much, Congressman Troy Carter. And tomorrow we will have on our show another Louisiana representative, the other black representative.
They want to put who they want in those seats. That's what they want to do. They want to, it could be a black conservative. That's not the person who they want in the seat. They want a specific type of black person in the seat. That's exactly what they want.
Representing one of the districts now under severe threat, Democrat Congressman Cleo Fields of Louisiana will be with us tomorrow. Much more coming up on this.
A white person can represent them. A Mexican person can represent them. And a black person can not represent them, as we see a lot of them doing right now. Just because he's black, that don't mean he's going to do what's best for the black people in the community. It don't mean that. He might do what they want, but we already know when it comes to those type of districts, you already know how they go. Those people are going to want what they're going to want him to do what they want, not what they need.
Special edition of Politics Nation.
Just like Al Green's district. Same scenario. Al Green district. That's who he was talking about earlier. The representative out in Houston. Same scenario. Got a crappy district. Al Green got a crappy district. I said it. You got homeless people everywhere. You got potholes all over the place. You got all kind of buildings. Come on now. A lot of the buildings in Al Green's district need to be demolished. That's Al Green's district. Al Green ain't never in the district. Al Green is always where? In Washington, D.C., hollering about no justice, no peace. Talking about how racist Donald Trump is. But what is he doing in his district? Nothing. Nothing.
Dive into the historic Supreme Court decision overturning key elements of the Voting Rights Act. Up next, we'll speak to a man who's been on the front lines of the fight against gerrymandering.
Land?
Everything is better with elected devices.
No, overdraft.
Aretha?
At the very heart of voting rights in America. The 6-3 decision struck down Louisiana's second majority black congressional district, a district created
just like Jasmine Crockett out there in Dallas. Same situation.
after courts found black voters were not being given fair representation in a state where they make up roughly 1/3 of the population. Let's be clear. This is not just about lines on a map. This is about power. This is about whether black and brown voters can elect candidates of their choice or whether their voices can be sliced, scattered, and silenced. Joining me now is someone who has been on the front lines of this fight, former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder. Mr. Attorney General, you've worked for years to lessen the amount and impact that gerrymandering has had on the politics in this country. How dangerous is this ruling for voting rights in America?
Oh, this ruling is unbelievably dangerous. It takes away really the last remaining part of the Voting Rights Act that we had to try to stop all of the kinds of electoral hanky-panky that Republicans were about. It's consistent with a suite of cases that the Supreme Court has put in place, starting with the Shelby County case that took away from the Justice Department the ability to pre-clear that which states that were covered were trying to do. The Rucho decision, which said you couldn't bring partisan gerrymandering cases in federal court. And now they're saying, Section 2 is not something that should be viable. And this is, again, people need to understand this. This is from the same court that 3 years ago used Section 2 to invalidate a redistricting scheme that was in Alabama. The same justices, the same issue, and somehow or another, it was good 3 years ago, but it is not good today.
And I remember that Shelby versus Holder case. I was in the courtroom for the oral arguments sitting with John Lewis and Jesse Jackson, both gone now. This is something they all fought for. But here we are with the Roberts Court. It has not just issued one ruling in isolation. Over the years, it has weakened the voting rights impact, dismantling affirmative action protections, which you personally speak.
They act like it's the 60s,
you can
man.
personally speak to after the court ruled against you and Shelby versus Holder and found Article 4 of the Voting Rights Act inaccessible. Some scholars have called the civil rights era a kind of second Reconstruction, a national attempt to make real the promises that were abandoned by the first Reconstruction. So if this court is now bringing the second Reconstruction to an end, where does that leave America, and what must come next, legally, politically, and morally, in your judgment, for those of us that still believe in equal protection under the law?
Well, what happened by the Supreme Court a couple of days ago is extremely discouraging. This suite of cases that they put in place are, again, extremely discouraging, but we cannot be discouraged. We have to understand that people before us faced far greater harms, far greater dangers, fought through them, and were able to get us to the place where we were before this Supreme Court started its dismemberment, essentially, of the civil rights movement. And it's interesting, there are historical parallels. Reconstruction was ended after Union troops were pulled out as a result of violence that was directed at African Americans seeking to vote. And we saw at the height of Reconstruction about 8 black congressmen. We didn't reach that number again until 1969. So you go from the 1870s until 1969 before you get back to that 8 number. And that's as a result of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. What this court is trying to do is turn back the clock and get us to the place where we were prior to the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And it is something that I think we'll have to fight, both in the streets and legislatively, come up with durable legislation on the federal side to overrule, in essence, what the court has done. And then we also have to make sure that we are doing everything that we can in terms of voting. I mean, that is the one thing they can't take away from us. They can make it more difficult, but they can't keep us away from the polls.
Now, getting back to the redistricting fight, what legal options are available to Democrats to minimize the impact in this coming election? And then what about down the line after this election?
Well, I think there's a variety of things that can be done. Certainly, we will challenge that which Louisiana is trying to do. We filed a lawsuit already, in addition to, some of our partners. We will certainly look at what other states are doing, and we can do that. You look at what Missouri did, in taking gerrymandering that seat to try to take it away from an African-American congressman. Well, there is now a citizen referendum that will be taking place next year. And my bet is that the citizens of Missouri are going to say, no, we're not going to support that effort. I think other states, we have to look at other states who can potentially gerrymander as well in response to that which the Republicans have done. And we'll be looking for ways in which we can use, the 14th Amendment, use state law to bring lawsuits and to challenge in every way that we possibly can that which this Supreme Court has done.
Now, Democratic states are already mobilizing to squeeze out more blue seats to counter whatever Republicans are doing, potentially leading to a country where each state's congressional delegations may be made up nearly entirely of just one party. What worries you about that? Are Democrats responding to this in the right way?
Democrats are responding, I think, in the right way. But what this whole process really worries me, because I think it's a race to the bottom. And you're right, you could end up with states that are almost all Democratic or all Republican and don't reflect the diversity that exists in those states, not only racial diversity, but ideological diversity. And what we know from gerrymandering is that when you have effective gerrymanders, the general election doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is a primary, and that drives people in the Republican Party further and further to the right. If you're seen as cooperating, working with your colleagues across the aisle, that is seen as a sign of weakness and invites a primary challenger. It means that nothing gets done in Congress or at the state legislative level as well. And that's something people need to understand. This opinion affects not only what happens in Congress, but what happens at the state legislative level, what happens at the county level, what happens at the city level, what happens with regard to elections, with regard to school boards. I mean, there's a whole range of elections that are impacted by what the Supreme Court has done this week.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, former United States Attorney General Eric Holder. Thank you for being on our special tonight. Coming up next on this special edition of Politics Nation.
All right, Chad.
And joining me now is Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. Mr. Blanche, welcome back to Meet the Press.
That was crazy. For some reason, I felt listening to them. Listening to them, Chad, I always feel like it's the 1960s again.
They're trying to dominate the narrative through the dissemination of propaganda, through managing the population through drones and artificial intelligence programs, and they're killing journalists. I'm Justin Salhani. I'm a senior producer with Al Jazeera Digital, and I'm based in Beirut. The Israeli military is trying to assert dominance, and in a lot of ways we could argue trying to provoke the Lebanese populace by the things that they publish on social media. There's also, as we saw in Gaza, videos of people in Lebanese houses taking items belonging to these houses. One that really hit home recently was there was a photo of a soldier in a kitchen, and she was cooking in a Lebanese household using local products and things that had been left behind. So these sort of things are really provocative for a people who have been forcibly displaced from their land. One of the most famous people in Lebanon right now is Avichai Adrai. He is an Israeli military spokesperson. If I'm not mistaken, he's actually the former spokesperson, but he built up such a massive social media following that they still release warnings through his social media account because the person who ostensibly replaced him just doesn't have the same following. And it's quite a dystopian reality whereby people around the country have turned on notifications for his posts on X. He'll release these maps, and on these maps you'll see, for example, a red square around a building. And if that building is your building, it means that your building might be targeted in the next 15 minutes to an hour to 2 hours, sometimes even longer. In the last intensification 2024, people told me they would joke about it. This is the Lebanese sense of humor, if you will. They would say things like, can Avichai just send out the warnings for this evening already so we can know where we go out and smoke shisha for the evening? This is just something that now everyone in the country deals with this reality. Their phones are on alert. You have to know at all times where your mobile is because if this warning comes through, you might have to move. The way that Israel has been carrying out this war on Lebanon resembles in some ways Gaza. The south in particular, the level of damage is incredible. Buildings flattened, reduced to rubble and dust. They're basically uninhabitable. Obviously, they're hitting Beirut in a new and different way, taking down buildings in the center of Beirut. The level of fear has struck in people in a different way this time around. This is the Ain Lamreisa neighborhood. A building here was taken down by an Israeli strike on April 8th. It was a day where many Lebanese were confused over whether or not Lebanon was going to be included in the ceasefire between Iran and the US. That afternoon, the Israelis hit around 100 places in Lebanon within 10 minutes. This is one of those places. They hit a number of places in central Beirut without any warning. Some of the Israeli attacks can be quite precise, but this was not one of those. You can see the lives that people lived before the attack. Shoes, books, remnants of a TV, lives that were cut short. When you talk to a lot of people from South Lebanon, they'll tell you it's been 70 plus years that they've wanted this land in the south. They want the land, they want the water, they want to push the people out of it, they want to destroy it. It seems to be quite systematic. It's not just a short-term displacement, the effort is a long-term generational displacement. The biggest example of propaganda that we've seen so far was probably these leaflets that were dropped over Beirut. Essentially, these were leaflets that said the success of Gaza is now coming to Lebanon, and it encouraged Lebanese to rise up against Hezbollah inside the country. It's also interesting to think about where these leaflets were dropped. These weren't dropped over areas where Hezbollah enjoys great support anyways. Many people would argue this was a psychological tactic. Other forms of propaganda we can talk about are advertisements that have been documented asking people to give information to Israeli intelligence units. So there is this effort of propaganda to say that, we are on your side against Hezbollah, as if Hezbollah is not a part of the Lebanese society. The Israeli government is trying to press on divides in Lebanese society through the rhetoric.
אנחנו ממשיכים להכות בעוצמה את חיזבאללה, ואנחנו לא נעצור עד שנחזיר לכם את הביטחון.
When Netanyahu says that they are trying to expel Hezbollah for Lebanon, or he calls on the Lebanese people to rise up against Hezbollah to save themselves. It's a means of trying to isolate the Lebanese Shia community away from their own government and from the rest of society. You also saw it when the Israelis warned villages in southern Lebanon not to host Shia Muslims. So they told them, don't host displaced people. It's not just don't host Hezbollah people or Hezbollah fighters. It told them don't host anyone from that sect. The Israelis have tried regionally, not just in Lebanon, but in Syria as well and elsewhere, to create this sort of culture of divide and conquer, of cutting people up based on their sectarian affiliation. Hezbollah is probably at an all-time low popularity-wise amongst the Lebanese population. There are internal divisions. There are people who want to push for better relationships with the Israelis, or at least some kind of peace deal, because they feel that the current status quo is not sustainable. At the same time, most people do not trust that the Israelis are working in Lebanon's best interest. So as much as the Israelis are trying to potentially cultivate allies, I don't think that there is much of an appetite for it amongst the Lebanese population. The Israeli technology has reached such a level that their attacks can be incredibly precise. They've also hacked through a number of systems to the point that they know almost everything about every movement that goes on in the country. Hassan Nasrallah, the late leader who was killed about a year and a half ago, had told Hezbollah's members to stop using cell phones because the thought was that they had been infiltrated. So right now it's quiet, but the drone was out earlier this morning, buzzing over our heads. If you go down this way, down the Corniche, and head up to a central part of Beirut, you have areas like Basta, Nuwairi, Khanda. These areas are where apparently Hezbollah had asked to shut down security cameras because they were worried that they were being accessed by the Israelis. So these are the different ways that this kind of technological warfare is going on at the same time. Using things like drones, AI, hacking, these sort of tactics to make the Lebanese turn on each other or to, go after Israel's enemies. Israel has acted with total impunity, of course in Gaza and now in Lebanon as well. They've killed medics and first responders regularly. They've targeted them in double and triple tap strikes. We've seen journalists killed. It started off with the killing of Aissam Abdallah in early 2023, right after the start of hostilities. That led to a change of calculation of how journalists in Lebanon work. Killing the truth is one of the first things that leads to owning the narrative. And so when you've killed a journalist right away, suddenly the calculus of what risks journalists will take changes. Just last week, a Lebanese journalist, Ahmad Khalil, was killed in a double tap strike. When Lebanese first responders from the Red Cross tried to reach her, the Israelis prevented them from getting close to her and she ended up dying. Ahmad Khalil, Ali Sha'ab, these were people who were regularly on the front line. So what Israel has done here is erased a reference point for so many people.
And finally, as the New York Post revealed this past week, there are more changes coming at CBS News under its new editor-in-chief, Barry Weiss. Weiss fired her London bureau chief, Claire Day, after, as the Post put it, the two of them clashed over the network's coverage of the Iran war and Gaza. Day kept pushing for more balanced coverage, and that reportedly cost her her job. She will be replaced by Shandy Race, the former deputy Middle East bureau chief at the Wall Street Journal. It was while Race was at the Journal that reporters there covering Gaza spoke out and said that they were concerned about her leadership. Race is based in Tel Aviv, has no television experience, and will take on the role of foreign editor at CBS. As we have reported here before, Barry Weiss is a self-described Zionist fanatic. Her track record...
This shoe workshop in downtown Tehran once employed about 10 people, but business has been slow since the war began in February. And now all these seats are empty. Khashayar, whose father founded this workshop in 1970, says he had to lay off nearly all
that's
his
what I need to
workers.
see. So I don't have to look at Twitch.
Raw materials are the main problem. Prices have surged and
I
some
can
are
get all my
scarce,
comments
limiting
right here in
production.
the back
We
office
once
of
had
the,
people working here, now the workshop is nearly closed. This affects almost all businesses.
Kind poetic. Appreciate you for the comment.
Many small businesses have
Yes,
been
viewers.
affected, and independent workers are
Appreciate
also
you for the
struggling to
comment.
stay afloat. Sepehr is one of them.
But I don't see the
He is a
comment
music
on
teacher and
Redistricting.
instrument
on
maker.
Twitch.
He has fewer students now,
So I haven't
which
figured
means a
that, so
lower
I
income.
see that.
Art
I don't
generally
see- I
lacks
can't- I
a
don't
stable
see my
economic
comments
base,
on
and we're
Twitch.
no exception. In
Well, I don't know
wartime,
where they
this
at. I don't know how
worsens.
to get
Families
to
cut
them.
non-essential spending like children's music classes, and instrument sales decline.
Iranian officials say U.S. and Israel airstrikes
Oh, yeah,
have damaged
okay,
more
I
than
see how to do that.
23,000 commercial properties.
Access more tools.
According to early estimates, up to 2 million people have been pushed
Okay.
out of their jobs by layoffs, closures, or lack of work.
Appreciate you for making the comment.
Analysts say
I
the
see
real
how to get
number
there
could
now.
be even higher. Iran's new supreme
Let me
leader
try
has
again.
urged business owners to refrain from layoffs.
Okay,
It's
now
not
I'm
just
there.
brick and mortar
All
businesses
right.
taking a hit. As
You ready
internet
to rock on
disruptions
Twitch?
continue, Iran's digital
Now I
economy
see
is
the
also
comments.
under pressure.
All
Webull,
right.
the website builder company among those affected, cutting costs to remain viable.
You can't see the comments
The
because
number
you're not
of
on
sales
Twitch.
invoices we issued
And
decreased
it
by
ain't gonna show up on
50% compared to the
Instagram.
same period last year. We have continued
on
our
YouTube.
business
It's
by
only gonna
reducing
show
some
up in
expenses,
my
such as
Redistricting back
eliminating
office.
additional servers to
It's
avoid
the only way I can
layoffs.
see comments
Decades of international sanctions
on
and
Twitch
domestic challenges
and
have
Kick.
weighed heavily on Iran's
How many people
economy.
watching on Kick?
Unemployment has been a persistent problem. But
All
2
right, we got
wars in less
5
than a
people over
year
there on
have
Kick.
left people with fewer options for work while
right.
prices rise. With efforts to end the war stalled, many in Iran are worried the fighting could start again.
Matter of
That's
fact,
clouding the hopes the
I'm
job
finna do
market
that
will
now.
recover soon. Toida Sadi, Al
Get
Jazeera,
off
Tehran.
YouTube on this phone. I'm fixing it. There's Kick.
Israeli forces have distributed new maps to aid groups in Gaza, demarcating an expanded military zone beyond the limit set during last year's ceasefire. A so-called orange line marks a restricted area covering about 11% of territory beyond the yellow line. That is the boundary agreed under the October ceasefire. Israel says the expanded zone facilitates aid deliveries and humanitarian organizations must coordinate their movements with the military. Israel was already controlling over roughly 50 to 55% of the strip, including large areas of Rafah, Khan Yunis, and northern Gaza.
Use my other computer
now,
over
with
here.
this orange line, nearly 2/3 of Gaza will be under Israeli control.
When they put the yellow line, our dream became to go back to the Al Zaytun neighborhood, to Shuja'iyya, at least to go back to our homes. Our dreams are not that big, but they put the orange line and pushed us further away from Al Zaytun, from our land. They should remove the orange line and allow us to go back to our lands, to our homes, to the rubble that is ours. We have the right to pitch up our own tent there.
We were hoping to return, and now we see that they created another line, aside from the yellow line, now an orange one.
Up, Kid?
What is
What's
this?
up, Kid?
They create lines every day, in colors. Until when?
Let's hear now from Tariq Ozoum, who reports from Gaza City.
The Orange Line is an expanded Israeli military boundary that's established by Israeli forces this year. It extends beyond the yellow demarcation line to deepen military control, and it covers additional 11% of Gaza territory, bringing roughly 60% of Gaza's territory under the Israeli military control. UN agencies are saying that this line, along with the yellow demarcation line, is adding further layers of control and restrictions, delaying the transfer of much needed humanitarian supplies and also imposing risk on aid workers who continue to operate amid untenable security environment. The line has been treated by Palestinians and aid agencies as a new restricted military zone, and it simply leaves Palestinians with a great sense of uncertainty because the boundaries are not quite clear on the ground. There are no fences, no even any warning sign in order to tell people where they can move and where they cannot. And that's why lots of people are still quite wary about which areas are considered accessible and which areas could expose them to danger. Tariq Abu Azzoum, Al Jazeera.
What's up, Derek Castle?
Palestine.
Well, we're going to take this on here in the studio with Mustafa Barghouti. He's the president of the Palestinian National Initiative.
Castle.
Welcome, Mr. Barghouti. Great to have you with us. First up, what's your reaction to this? What does it signal, in your view, as to Israel's intentions?
It signals two things. First of all, Israel is not implementing what was agreed about, which is the ceasefire agreement.
Since you're here,
and second, that its intention is really to expand its control of Gaza.
Do me a favor and go vote.
The real risk and threat that they might reactivate their military operations.
Yes or no?
Most importantly, it's important for everybody to know
I need you to go
that
over
Israel
here
never respect
to the Conservative OG channel, and I need you to go subscribe to that channel. Derek Castle, I need you to do me two things. I need you to vote. Or you having a great Sunday, and then I need you to go to the Conservative OG channel up here, and I need you to go subscribe to the channel. We got 50 subscribers over there. We need more subscribers. I need you to do me a huge favor. Derek Castle, YouTube.com/cook. I need you to go over here to the Conservative OG channel, and I need you to hit that subscribe button and the notification, and cut on all notifications. Thanks in advance.
Process, that's what they say.
They lie again. I mean, and we've been hearing lies all the last 2.5 years, and they just continue. The big question to Israel is why it's not allowing a single medical equipment to get to Gaza since 2.5 years. We have 100 medical teams working there with the organization I am running, and they are treating about 200,000 people every month, and they are lacking all kinds of medical equipment. People are simply dying because of lack of medical facility and lack of medical care. And where is the reconstruction that was promised by Trump and his agreement? None of that is happening. On the contrary, people's life is getting worse and worse and worse. And that's why I think what Israel is planning here is not to alleviate humanitarian suffering, but to increase the suffering of the people.
So what kind of pressure could be applied by the international community that we haven't seen so far?
Sanctions. The only thing
like
that
these
will
lights
work
with the
are
different
sanctions.
colors.
Without sanctions, without serious boycott, without at least military embargo, threatening Israel that it will be sanctioned unless it allows humanitarian aid to come to Gaza, unless it respects the ceasefire agreement and stops bombarding Gaza. Without that, nothing will change. And of course, the United States here carries a major responsibility because it was supposed to be the guarantor of this agreement.
And this expansion within Gaza comes alongside further settler expansion in the West Bank.
Absolutely. West Bank is absolutely, I mean, the situation in the West Bank where I live is absolutely horrifying. Every day we have 12 to 13 to 14 attacks by Israeli terrorist groups who are settlers organized in terrorist gangs, attacking communities, burning houses, burning cars. And they have already displaced 71 communities out of their land. Some communities were displaced more than once. And in addition to that, there is no respect of the existing agreements whatsoever. And the expansion of settlement activities is beyond description. How can anybody speak about two-state solution or about a solution in general when Israel is allowed to expand its settlements every day? Most recently, they have secretly approved 34 new illegal settlements, which brings up the number of settlements and settlement outposts to more than 400 in that little area, which is called the West Bank.
Right. We've had talks, as far as Gaza is concerned, we've had talks in Cairo. Under US mediation, they've made little progress, with Israel insisting on the disarmament of Hamas before moving things forward. What could Hamas do?
Maybe I keep it on restream.
Hamas is ready, as we were told, and as I have read the response that was given to
comment on all of them at once.
They are ready to discuss the issue of weapons if Israel respects the agreement. According to the agreed upon lines of this agreement, the first stage includes complete ceasefire and complete access to humanitarian aid. None of that is happening. Hamas is saying, yes, I'm ready to discuss the military disarmament and so on, but we need two things. First of all, Israel's respect and implementation of the first stage, which never happened. And second, the security arrangements. We need a police force inside Gaza that could guarantee the security of people. Otherwise, these 5 gangs of Israeli collaborators who are equipped by Israel with military equipment and who are supported with it.
But I just found out in the back office of the streaming service, I can comment in the back office of the streaming service, and it goes out to all my social media accounts. So I can make one comment and it goes out on all my social media accounts. Because if you don't know, I got all my social media accounts hooked up. So if you're watching from Kick, Twitch, wherever you're watching from, I appreciate you. I need to hook up Twitter, and then I need to hook up What other one? Twitter, LinkedIn, and I need to hook up Twitter. Hold up. Twitter, LinkedIn, and Rumble. I got 3 more I need to hook up. Twitter, LinkedIn, Rumble. And then we're going to be ready to rock and roll. We're going to be, and I might, you know what? I might open up an Instagram account. Not an Instagram, a TikTok. Yeah, I think I'm going to do TikTok too. Be on 8, 9 different platforms at one time. Reach the masses. Wherever you're watching me from, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Subscribe, follow, like, whatever you got to do to stay connected to Stock Sniper TV. This is the Freedom of Speech channel, and I'm your host, the one and only Stock Sniper. Stay connected on all platforms. Wherever you at, if you, let's say for instance, if you watching me from Instagram, if you are comfortable on Instagram, cool. Just make sure you follow me on Instagram. If you're watching from Twitch, cool. Make sure you follow me on Twitch. If you're watching me on Kick, cool. Make sure you hit that follow button on Twitch. Let's go, chat. Let's go. And last but not least, I need y'all to go over here to the Conservative OG on YouTube. And I need you to hit that subscribe button. I need you to go over there and hit that subscribe button. Everybody that's been subscribing to that channel, we reached the first goal of 50. And I appreciate y'all. Soon as, and I mean soon as YouTube activates that subscribe button and I'm able to go live, that's why it's very important that you hit that notification bell. Because soon as YouTube allows me to go live from this channel up here, the Conservative OG, guess what? We're giving away some money. We're giving away some bread. We're giving away confetti. And we're giving away chili. Down here where I'm from, we call it bread. We call it Skrilla. We call it confetti. So as soon as I'm able to go live on this channel right there, the Conservative OG channel, we're giving away some bread. It is what it is. How do I get my bread, Stock Sniper? 3 ways. Cash App, PayPal, and Zelle. Appreciate y'all for joining. Appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Let's keep going with the show.
Have taken to the streets of Karachi to commemorate former Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Demonstrators chanted in condemnation of both Israel and the United States. They held up placards honoring both Iran's former and new Supreme Leader. A mock exhibition depicting the school children killed in Minab on the opening day of the war in Iran was on display. Pakistan, that's leading mediation efforts between the sides, is experiencing severe economic shocks caused by the war, including fuel shortages.
The killings of innocent school children in Minab is a slap on the face of the US and Israel, who claim themselves to be deserving of the Nobel Prize. We want to tell the world that those who bombed the school were enemies of humanity in the past and are enemies of humanity today.
Okay, let's bring in Marco Vicenzino, who's a global strategy advisor and geopolitical risk specialist. Joins us live now from New York. Marco, great to have you back with us. So what are what's your view on this so-called Project Freedom, as the US president has put it, that the US will begin escorting ships out of the strait into the Gulf of Oman on Monday?
Currently, I think it's an attempt to try to break the current standoff. We can call it a protracted state of managed instability, whereby this standoff it's gone on for a few weeks. Both sides are have declared an embargo. and both sides are probing each other without wanting to return to war. So we see this as a way to try to break that impasse, to try to create momentum. But at the same time, there's always the risk of miscalculation out there. And that risk of miscalculation is very high at the present time. And I would say is that the possibility of a return to war is something that is real. Maybe people have underestimated. I'd say both sides do not want that, and especially the international community does not want that. But the way, if you play that game of brinksmanship, one slight miscalculation, things spin out of control, and you have another vicious downward cycle, possibly worse even than the first round of conflict from starting on February 28th.
The US president's been very definitive about this, saying that this will start on Monday morning. And you do wonder whether or not Iran has been involved in this process of making this announcement of, the potential escorting of vessels out of the Strait.
I mean, once again, I refer to that state of protracted instability. Is you have this? It's sort of a new status quo that has been evolving in recent weeks. And that new status quo is that each side, probing without wanting to make that move to descend into armed conflict again. So you can call it sort of it's like a show going on at the present time, a dance, a dance in the Gulf, the dance of Hormuz.
I'm not done, chat. I need to add my other social media accounts. So I'm gonna have to end this stream in a few minutes, and then I'm gonna come back. But I gotta add my other social media accounts. I gotta add Twitter. I gotta add my LinkedIn. I gotta add my Rumble. I gotta add 3 more social media accounts, and that'll give me a total of 7. So I got 4 hooked up so far. Got 4 of them hooked up so far. I need to add 3 more. So we're gonna react to this a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna end this stream and come back, and we're gonna be ready to rock and roll. In the morning, we're gonna have a good time in the morning, chat. It's Monday, Monday. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Cut on all notification bells, wherever platform you at. The stream in the morning gonna be something serious. I'm gonna be up bright and early with the chickens. So you gotta make sure you're connected to the Freedom of Speech channel. You have to, wherever you're watching me from. If you like being on Twitch, cool. If you like being on Kick, cool. If you like being on Instagram, cool. If you like being on Twitter, cool. If you like being on LinkedIn, cool. If you like being on Rumble, cool. If you like being on YouTube, cool. And wherever you like watching me from, make sure you hit that subscribe button and you cut on all post notification bells. In the morning, it's going to get real. Straight up. In the morning, it's going to be the best live I have ever made. I ain't going to say live, stream. Tomorrow's going to be the best stream. Straight up. I'm going to be up bright and early in the morning. Because you already know, early bird get the worm. I'm going to be up bright and early. Ready to rock and roll. Stock market is going down in the morning. So make sure you come rock with me. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you come rock with me. And be honest with you, in the morning, I don't want nobody commenting, bro. I want everybody paying attention. That's what I want in the morning. So before I get out of here, I need you to go subscribe to the Conservative OG channel. I need you to go over there and subscribe to the Conservative OG channel. All I'm waiting on is for YouTube to activate that live button. Once YouTube activate that live button, chat, man, I'm giving away some. I'm giving away some bread. We're giving away bread. We're giving away confetti. We're giving away chili. We're giving away cheese. Whatever the hell you call it in your area, I said it. In my area, we call it bread. We call it confetti. So once YouTube activates that live button, you want to make sure you are in that live. Let's continue with the show, chat. Thank y'all for joining me, chat. I love y'all. I love y'all. Let's continue.
But when does it actually break remains the simple question. For the global economy, as we know, Hormuz has been emphasized many, many times. 20% of global oil flows go through there. Markets continue to remain volatile. Supply chains can keep to remain disrupted. Insurance and shipping costs will go up and will skyrocket if there's a return to conflict. So this is not just a bilateral U.S.-Iran situation. The consequences for the global trade, global commerce, and global stability are enormous. You could say we're on the cusp of a descent into the abyss if there is a return to conflict again. And I think the current situation is, if there is a deal, what needs to be is, it's not going to be a long-term deal, but some form of deal at least that can buy some time and diffuse the current economic crisis. And this will keep going on. Like I said, a protracted state of managed instability.
If we look at a live map of the Strait, you can see all sorts of vessels trapped there, from tankers to cargo ships, and even vessels holding huge cargoes of fertilizer. There we go. The dots in red, the arrows in red, they're the oil and gas tankers. The green ones are cargo ships, just hundreds and hundreds of them sitting there in the Arabian Gulf. Once they start coming out, how quickly, if the Strait is opened up permanently, how quickly will the energy shock that has gripped the world start to be relieved?
It's going to take weeks. Some would even argue months. This is not going to be an overnight change. You've had from roughly 120 vessels crossing the Strait of Hormuz on a daily basis prior to February 28th, down to single-digit vessels. And the pipeline of backup is enormous at the present time. So I don't think immediately if the straits do open and you have a resumption to commerce again,
It's important
to point out. It's important to manage expectations. This is not going to be returned to the previous normal. The new normal is different. The new normal is going to be the era of secure, predictable, and stable flows is over. Even though the supplies keep going through, the new normal is going to be marked one in which this managed instability is going to be marked by coercion, constant threats, and the possibility of an outbreak of conflict at any given moment. Once the Strait of Hormuz, once that red line was crossed, an entire new system an entire new age and an entire new era in global commerce has developed, particularly in the Middle East.
How to get the comments.
Well, we'll have to leave it there. Marco Vincenzino, Global Strategies Manager and Geopolitical Risk Specialist, joining us from New York. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, OPEC Plus has agreed to a modest oil output hike for June. 7 countries will raise oil output targets by 188,000 barrels per day. It is the third consecutive month. Move doesn't include the share of the United Arab Emirates, which left the group on May the 1st. The increase will remain largely on paper as long as the Iran war continues to disrupt global oil supplies. Meanwhile, Iraq, which is one of the key members of both OPEC and OPEC Plus, is now rerouting its oil to neighboring Syria by land. The Strait of Hormuz is Iraq's only maritime route to ship its oil to global markets, but Iran's blockade has, of course, severely disrupted trade. Now, establishing a land route could well reshape regional energy supply, as Kayleigh Callahan explains.
The tanker Alberta, one of the latest vessels loading Iraqi fuel oil at Syria's Banias terminal. With traditional maritime routes through the Strait of Hormuz disrupted by the Iran war, this is how Iraqi energy is reaching global markets now. Since last month, convoys of Iraqi oil trucks have been moving westward to Syria. It's part of a trial to test whether this route can handle larger volumes of traffic, and it could mark a long-term shift in how energy is moved to markets.
As a result of tension in the Gulf and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, there has been pressure on countries relying on it. So alternative routes were needed, and Syria became that option.
Oil trucks depart from Al Ramadi in central Iraq, cross into southern Syria and travel on to the coastal city of Banias. The journey should take less than 15 hours, but Iraqi truck drivers told us that due to security issues and long lines to reach the port, it's taking them about 15 days. More than 7,600 Iraqi oil trucks have entered Syria so far, with nearly 6,000 already offloaded.
Security cars around them, there is logistics, maintenance and service for those trucks, fuels to keep them operated. It is costly again, but this is the only way so far to support the Iraqi people in order to distribute. Let's say Hormuz is working fine, no problem. We need to always to have a second option.
Iraq and Syria are also looking beyond trucking. Officials say they are exploring the possibility of rehabilitating old pipelines and building new ones to move Iraqi crude directly to the Mediterranean. With uncertainty still hanging over the Strait of Hormuz, this land route could create a new export corridor, reshaping the region's energy map. Kaylee Callahan, Al Jazeera.
Kazakhstan is pressing ahead with plans to construct its first nuclear reactor, but it's also haunted by the enduring effects of Soviet-era atomic experiments. And those include polluted land, radioactive lakes, and generations affected by cancer and birth defects. Jonah Hull has this report now from Kazakhstan.
The town of Kurchatov on the Kazakh steppe was once central to the Soviet Union's pursuit of nuclear weapons. Its museum documents almost 500 above and below ground nuclear tests conducted in the area, recording the blast and radiation impacts on machinery, masonry and livestock. Largely neglected at the time was the effect on human life in villages and among an army of scientists and workers once stationed here.
In the early stages, there were blood diseases, complications during pregnancy, and high infant mortality. Later, there were gastrointestinal diseases, and over the long term, we see cancers of the lung and breast and rare forms of central nervous system disorders.
Over 4 decades of nuclear testing, an estimated 1.5 million people were exposed to radioactive fallout across hundreds of kilometres. In some villages, up to 90% of residents received high doses of radiation, some comparable to near ground zero levels of exposure in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And cancer rates were found to be 30% higher than the national average in areas close to the test sites. Some still bear the scars. The songs are about love and happiness, but this community group shares something darker. Most are blind or otherwise afflicted. All have government-issued papers entitling them to benefits as victims of the nuclear
higher
test.
cancer rate.
There are many diseases situated in that village where I was born. There was no medical help in that time. We survived. We have to survive.
Activists like Myra Abemova, herself a third-generation cancer sufferer, say more could be done to reduce radiation levels and decontaminate the soil, making the region and people's livelihoods sustainable again.
For years, the narrative has been, you are victims, here's some money. But $80 a month is not a solution.
Wow.
We want to live in dignity, earn money, and contribute to developing our country. Enough of seeing us only as victims.
Victims or not, this is the human cost of Cold War dominance, a price many are still paying. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, Kazakhstan.
That's crazy.
2 US service members have gone missing in southwestern Morocco. They were participating in the military operation
30% cancer rate
near the Kaptarat training area. Search and rescue efforts are ongoing.
All them
That
chemicals.
includes ground, air and maritime operations. The Moroccan army said the service members went missing near a cliff. Flooding triggered by heavy rainfall in northwestern Syria has caused multiple dam collapses across the south of Aleppo provinces. After years of civil unrest, dams and irrigation systems have been neglected. Farmers are desperately trying to protect their homes and livelihoods as they wait for support. Lou Brown has this.
After weeks of heavy rainfall, vast stretches of countryside in southern Aleppo are now underwater. The Al Siha Dam, an earthen embankment on the Quake River, has collapsed several times since March. The result? Floodwaters that have devastated everything in their path. More than 5.5 square kilometres of farmland have been affected, leaving homes submerged.
We have suffered material losses and can no longer afford to pay any further. The situation is very...
Well, on the poll, we got 2 votes, and it's 100%. Everybody having, the 2 people that voted, having a great day. Cool.
tragic. Regarding these embankments here that you...
Okay, I appreciate y'all for rocking with the show. As of right now, I need y'all to go do me a favor and go to the Conservative OG channel and go hit that subscribe button and go hit that notification bell so you'll know when we going live over there, because soon as YouTube activates the live button, we have 50 subs now, so that means that we can go live over there. Soon as we're able to go live, just waiting on YouTube now. Soon as they activate that live button, we going live. Cash App giveaway, Super Cash App giveaway, PayPal giveaway, Zelle giveaway. We're giving away some bread, in other words. So I appreciate y'all for joining me. Appreciate y'all for coming through. I got to get off right now, chat, because I still got to go add LinkedIn. I got to add Twitter. I got to add my other social media accounts. So with that being said, chat, I love and I appreciate y'all. I hope y'all have a great Sunday and enjoy the rest of your evening. In the morning, it's going to be an epic live. Epic. You're going to want to. All right, chat. To the next one. I'm out.